ALS, so that's why I'm going to start with that one. Now, in ALS, as you can see, in ALS, you have combined upper motor and lower motor neuron deficits. Okay, so what is going to be the symptoms? You're going to have ventral neoplastic paralysis, and you're going to have upper motor neuron damage. Now, here's the exact example of the difference between an upper motor neuron damage and lower motor neuron damage, right? So the upper motor neuron symptoms will be at what level of the lesion?
Below 1 to 2 segment below.
Exactly, below the level of the lesion, because you have damage to the lower motor neurons, right? Now, pseudobulbar effect on this disease. Pseudobulbar effect is pretty much when the nerves, the cranial nerves are losing control. Okay, so it's written in there. Okay, so for example, these patients will start with crying or laughing so hard without any type of emotional background. Okay, because cranial nerves, they're losing the control by the brain. Okay, now you're going to have upper motor neuron damage and you're going to have lower motor neuron damage, but eventually, if the entire spinal cord was damaged by lower motor neuron damage, can you see the upper motor neuron damage? No. These patients can have sensory. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Yes, they can have it. If the dorsal column is intact, they're going to have it. The spinal thalamic tract is intact, they're going to have it. Okay? No sensory loss. It's just motor. Okay? See? Dorsal is intact, right, guys? You see these areas right here? That's degeneration. I put harder images this time. Okay?
He'll put them on the test too, like
Oh yeah.
pictures like that.
So I'm going to keep with hard images so you can notice them. So in taste dorsalis, you guys took micro. It's usually caused by tertiary syphilis. So technically, since we have now ways to get rid of syphilis, right, antibiotics and all that, you have to see that in all patients. So in the case then, that's going to help you. That's the first thing that you're going to see, right? Now, it's because of the demyelination of the dorsal and the dorsal column and the dorsal root, right? The dorsal horns. The virus goes in here, degenerates this, and then later progresses this way, right? So you're going to lose your detended reflex. Why? You have 5 seconds.
The information is not getting inside?
Exactly. If the information is not getting in there, it's not going to come out. That's the first thing. Loss of detended reflex. You're going to have ipsilateral, loss of vibration and proprioception. Why? Now, the progression of this disease is kind of special. Because first, as you can see here, the dorsal horns are going to be dying because when the virus is active, right? But now, after that, the patient becomes hypersensitive to pain. Okay, so they're going to present with shooting pains because there's degeneration of those dorsal roots. Yeah? And then they're going to lose the sensation because the virus progressed to the dorsal columns. Make sure that if they ask about the progression of the disease, they can give you the case stem and give you easily that it is taste dorsalis, but if they ask you about the progression of the disease, make sure that it's shooting pain first and then loss of sensation. Okay? I'm going to fly through the diseases because I am going to finish at 6 this time. And like I said, if you really know the tracks, then you should be able to recognize the symptoms, how to describe the symptoms. Okay? Now, syringomyelia, my favorite. Syringomyelia going to be a syringe that is expanding in the central area of the gray matter, right? It's going to damage the anterior white curvature, which is what?
Spinal column.
The accusation of the spinal thalamic tract. But because it is in there, nothing that comes through here can come here. Nothing that is coming here can come through here. So basically, you can have bilateral loss of pain, temperature, and crude touch. Okay? So the loss of sensation is going to be like a cape-like structure. And the next slide has a picture of it. Okay? Now, one important thing. Syringomyelia can definitely keep expanding. What I did? Huh? Exactly. So I'm going to have what?
Lower motor neuron damage.
The center.
Motor.
Plastic paralysis. And then eventually, atrophy. You cannot say atrophy before paralysis. Okay? You have to have a moment of paralysis. Okay? Now, this syringomyelia is also associated with Arnold-Chiari malformation. So when a patient has, if they give you a question of neurodevelopment, they give you a picture of a baby with an MRI with Arnold-Chiari malformation, and if they give you an associated condition with it, you're going to answer it syringomyelia. Okay? I'm pretty sure he's not going to ask that. It's just I think of the worst case scenario and different ways for a question. Okay? See here, guys? Cerebellum coming into the spinal cord. Okay. See it? And you see the syrinx? You see the cape-like structure? This is loss of pain, bilateral loss of pain and temperature. Because it only occurs in cervical area. See, from C8 to T1. Not only, I mean, mostly. Okay? The famous Brown-Séquard syndrome. Okay, now, before I go over this, because this disease takes time to explain. Yeah, Brown-Séquard, how are you going to attack Brown-Séquard and any other disease? I'm just going to use this one as the example. Okay? How are you going to attack it? The case stem, well, at least in my part, I don't know math, that is, you know. Here, no. So, for the case stem, you see in Brown-Séquard syndrome, there's lower motor neuron damage, there's dorsal horn damage, dorsal column, right? But you don't know that. They're not going to give you a picture in the exam. They're just going to start saying this in the case. That's what you're going to have, right? So when you read, I have have ipsilateral, flaccid paralysis, and I don't know what region, and blah, blah, blah. Lower motor neuron is going to tell you the region of the lesion. Because it has to be there in the same level, right? The track that I use to locate right and left, dorsal. Because it has to be ipsilateral, right? So lower motor neuron tells me where I am, dorsal column tells me right or left. Okay? Now you know where you are. Leave spinal thalamic again. Because it has to be contralateral, and it has to be, the symptoms have to be 2 segments below the lesion. Okay? So if my symptoms are in T5, and I have flaccid paralysis in T3, what is the level of the lesion? T3, okay? T3 is my level of the lesion. Because of the symptoms of spinal thalamic are 2 below. That's how you're going to attack cases of spinal cord. Like I said, draw the spinal cord and start doing it. Okay, I lost on the right. Okay, I lost some vibration on the right. Okay, now I have flaccid paralysis on I don't know what region. Okay, it's ipsilateral. Start doing that. And then when you notice that you lost this, and that, flaccid paralysis at that level of deletion, you know that it's called? Because it's only in here. You see? It's the degeneration right here. That's it. There's another genetic disorder called Werning Hopkins. It's in the notes. It's not on the block. It's going to be for path 1, block 3, when you do that. But it's also going to cause, but that's in newborns, and it's going to cause the baby because there's also degeneration of only ventral horns. It's the same thing, it's just that one is genetic and the other one is caused by the virus. Do you guys understand so far? I'm flying through this really, really fast, okay? Okay. Are you sure? Can I continue or not? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anterior spinal artery syndrome. Remember when I explained this really quick? It's just infarction, occlusion of the anterior spinal artery, right? Which supplies what? 2/3 of the spinal cord. So, as you can see here, just starting with the picture, these are the areas that are going to be damaged. Depending on the degree of the occlusion, the infarction, it can go up all the way to here. You don't know, maybe. But in this case, for exam purposes, it doesn't attack the, doesn't go all the way to the spinal tract. So in anterior spinal artery syndrome, your, this is all off. Your lateral corticospinal tract will be spared. What you're definitely going to have, what you're not going to have if you, what you are not going to have if my lateral corticospinal tract is spared. Babinski negative, Hosman's negative, no loss of cremasteric and abdominal reflex, right? Remember that?
Those are absent.
No hyperreflexia, nothing like that. But you're definitely going to have lower motor neuron damage. So there's going to be flaccid paralysis at the level of deletion, right? I'm also going to have contralateral, actually bilateral, loss of pain and temperature because I'm attacking both spinal tracts, right? So far so good? What are the extrapyramidal tracts? Oligospinal, tectospinal, vestibulospinal, right? All of those are also affected, right? But they're masked on the spinal thalamic and lower motor neurons. Yeah. No sensory loss of, no loss of vibration or proprioception. Why? See, you're masters at this. I don't know why I'm doing this. An MRI. I do this just for fun and just to obviously teach you more than more clinical stuff, right? Like how am I going to see that in an MRI? You see this? You see it? That's infarction of the that's anterior spinal cord. Anterior spinal arteries in an MRI. You can barely see it, right? Central core syndrome. Usually, most likely, most common, occurs after trauma in a patient that already has cervical spondylosis. Degeneration of the cervical vertebrae. Well, actually, it's in the facets. It's not in the actual joints, the facet joints. Okay, the ones that connect on the sides of the vertebrae. Now, a patient that already has that and undergoes a hyperextension injury, like a gymnast. He said that on class, like a gymnast. Then they're going to develop central core syndrome. Okay, but you can also have a complication. You can also develop central core syndrome from syringomyelia, right? Because syringomyelia is a syringe that it keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. It's like a circle, right? That's a circle to me. I don't know. So it can be a complication. It's not common. It's exceedingly rare because it mostly occurs of hyperextension injuries, but it definitely is possible, right? Now, motor symptoms, everything bilateral. That's the good part. When it's bilateral, you can just across the entire part, right? Now, central cord syndrome, you remember when I talked about sacral sparing? What is happening here?
Sacral doesn't.
Babinski, positive or negative?
Negative.
Hoffman side, positive or negative?
Positive, it's open. Right here.
What about spinal thalamus?
Spinal thalamic.
Yeah.
That's affected.
Spinal thalamic can also have sacral sparing. You just have to test for that. You don't know how much the extension of the lesion is. You just have an idea on central cord syndrome. And based on pictures, based on what they tell you, you just have to think of the worst case scenario. Yes, Remy.
I know this is a schematic diagram that they give us. The sacral sparing, is it always for central cord, or it just like, is it always happen, the sacral sparing?
On central cord syndrome,
Yeah.
what he taught you was, yes, there's sacral sparing. But think of, you just have to think of worst case scenarios. You know, a patient can come with central cord syndrome and not even touching the lateral corticospinal tracts. You just have to test for it. Some patients come all of a sudden with that, you know? You just have to test for it. But commonly, what they teach you is that they definitely going to have sacral sparing.
Okay.
All right?
Depends on the severity of the disease.
On that, are they always going to have Hoffman?
No,
Mm-mm.
no, not always.
When will they not?
When it doesn't touch the corticospinal tract.
Yeah, corticospinal tract is.
It's completely straight.
Like, right there, it's involving
The ventral horn, when the ventral horn is not involved, right?
And you have to
But you need the lower
Because
motor
you
neuron.
need
So what are the dermatomes for the arms?
C4, C5, C6.
Go
all
to
the way
the
C5 to
guys, come on.
C8.
It's Thursday.
C7?
Come on.
Yeah.
There we go.
It ends at C8, right? C8
Yeah.
is the pinky.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's below C8, like T2, don't jump for Hoffman's because they're not going to have it, right? So don't always jump for those signs. Just wanted to, don't just think about it, think it through, because he's going to try to do that to catch people.
Definitely. Like the lesion is at, what, lumbar part, for example, and then this whole foot.
Yeah.
Right? Another MRI. It doesn't give you this, but usually the MRI on the central cord will show this thing. It looks like a herniated disc, but no. Just for fun, you can have it. But he's not going to put that in the exam if he didn't tell you that, okay? Now, spinal shock. This is kind of difficult for me. It was. Spinal shock syndrome, usually by trauma. That's the main thing, right? Now, it's also, just think of it as a transient complete cord transection. So, now, but first, obviously, because it's transient, you're going to have temporary loss of all the spinal reflexes. You know, you lost your arc reflex, okay? So you're going to have loss of that. Just think loss of the deep tendon reflex, the first thing. Now, motor activity, nothing. Plus paralysis, right? Sensation below the level of the lesion, loss of bladder tone, atonic bladder. In the notes, you have the difference between atonic bladder and spastic bladder.
That was tested. Yeah.
Okay? First, you're going to have atonic bladder because it's pretty much like lower motor neuron damage. Or if I have a spinal cord, if I have a peripheral nerve damage in my bladder, I'm going to have atonic bladder. Or if I have spinal cord damage in my S2, S3, S4, which is what? Sacroflexus. Right? That's atonic bladder. Atonic bladder basically means that they're just going to never going to feel full because it just, the bladder is going to, okay, now I'm doing the review here, and now the bladder is going to, oh, I gotta go. I'll come back 5 minutes later. Okay? It's not the fact that it's going to be full whenever it's full, whee! No. It's just whenever it wants. Right? Like spastic paralysis and hyperreflexia. Okay? So far so good? It's in there, don't worry.
Yeah, it's easy to pick up because it's going to be lower motor neuron damage the whole way. And there was a question on our block 1. It's like, which of the following symptoms will this person have? So you already diagnosed spinal shock, and I think the answer choice was like flaccid paralysis of the bladder or urinary incontinence. Because it's the whole spinal cord, so you're going to include S1, S2, S3, like you said. Alright? So I think that was one of the last slide of one of the spinal cord presentations.
I'm surprised how much you remember the block. I can't remember those questions.
But the new guy, I don't know how much the new guy covered, so that's good to know.
But he went through it.
Did they talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Went through all of these.
Oh, but it's fair.
Okay.
It's fair, guys. That's the bad news. Now, familial spastic paraparesis. I think I remember this one came in the final. Right?
Yeah.
This one came in the final because you're going to lose all the corticospinal tracts, the lateral and the anterior. Right? Now, I didn't find the picture. When I say lateral, and you're going to lose this, and the ones that are here, right? The ones that are here. But if you're losing both, you just have to remember that it's bilateral because it's both sides are bilateral. It doesn't matter. Okay? Now, because you are affecting corticospinal tract, like in the picture, I'm glad that I found a picture like that. The patient is going to be in constant spastic paraparesis. So the arms are going to be flexed and the legs are going to be extended like that. See it? Now the patient is not going to lose sensory, right? Huh? No. If I lose all the corticospinal tracts, my sensory is completely intact. Okay? No spinal cerebellar damage, no ataxia whatsoever, just the patient is just this all the time. That's it. It's easy to pick up in a case then, thank God. Because, now subacute combined degeneration. If you remember from biochemistry, subacute combined degeneration is caused by vitamin B12 deficiency. It says pernicious anemia. I really don't remember why pernicious anemia, but I do remember why vitamin B12 deficiency, because of increased methylmalonic acid. That's how you differentiate it from folic acid deficiency, right? Now, in this disease, you're gonna cause demyelination first, just myelin sheath, and eventually complete damage to the neuron. Okay, that's the progression of the disease. So that's why, hence why you're gonna have tingling. Okay, I was rock climbing once on the break, and then I put my hand on the wall. I'm just explaining to you. Put my hand on the wall, I fell, and then the rock just hit me here, and then I just had tingling for 6 months because it was radial nerve damage. It's just myelination, and you already know because Matt told you guys, peripheral nerve can regenerate, right? But this is not the case. It's not regeneration, it's degeneration, right? Hence where you have tingling first. You're gonna have ataxia. Why are you gonna have ataxia, guys? In subacute combined degeneration, there's dorsal column and lateral corticospinal tract, but the ataxia does not come from the lateral corticospinal tract. It comes from the damage to the dorsal column because exactly. if you lose dorsal column, you're gonna have loss of vibration and all that. When you see loss of vibration, it's gonna be so easy, right? But pay attention, and here there's bilateral damage.
The
Dorsal
spinal
column.
column.
You see the degeneration, guys? You see this? See this? This is the anterior corticospinal. Damage here. Damage here. Hard picture, isn't it? You can put up a picture like that.
So
If I was to write the test, I can put signs and symptoms and then and put a picture like that. Tell me what it is.
But
Yes.
if you ever put a picture like that, should you put this little asterisk, like, you know, where you have the damage, or you just have to figure out where the damage at? Because a picture like that can be confusing to me, and
Oh yeah, it's confusing. I agree.
unless you print the damage, you say, okay, this is what damage. Now I have to figure out which tract exactly.
He's gonna put
Arrow?
arrows.
Okay.
That's mostly block 2. I'm just training you for block 2.
Okay.
But he's gonna put arrows. He's gonna put arrows like this area, trying to confuse you, this area, and then you're gonna be. I took my computer once and flipped it in the middle of the exam. Okay. I need it now. Spinal cerebellar degeneration. Spinal cerebellar degeneration is not alone. It's not a condition that you just diagnose. Okay, this is spinal degeneration based on the symptoms. No, they have 2 associated conditions with it. This is just a symptom of 2 diseases. Okay, one is Friedreich
ataxia.
Thank you, and Machado and Joseph. Okay, the difference between them is mainly that Friedreich ataxia is the onset is for patients from 5 to 15 years old, and in Machado and Joseph, the onset is adults. Okay, but in spinal cerebellar degeneration, you're going to have dorsal, lateral corticospinal tracts, and spinal cerebellar degeneration. So when you have dorsal column, you have dorsal column damage, you have spinal cerebellar damage, you lost proprioception. Spinal cerebellar, like I told you guys in the review, it gives you the information to the cerebellum to correct movements. So the patient is going to have ataxia, is going to have proprioception, and also, in addition to, you're going to have loss of lateral corticospinal tracts, no motor innervation. Lower motor neuron damage is not present, but this patient cannot walk at all. At all. There's no proprioception. Okay? There's no proprioception at all. So this patient, the worst case scenario, the main thing that you're going to diagnose with this patient is they cannot walk at all. Because there's no way that you can correct movements, there's no way, they don't have the upper motor neurons telling the lower motor neurons what to do. Okay? Now, I guess.
Are these 2 last conditions bilateral always?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the good thing.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to differentiate if it's right or left. But, like I said, don't expect that the questions are going to be only diseases of spinal cord. Okay? They can give you a case and I just have a lesion in this and this and this. The patient presents with this. Tell me where the lesion is. That's it. Right side, left side, this. Okay? Diseases is easier because, you know, some of them are bilateral, you know, easy to pick up. Don't expect only this. Okay? Now,
this is a good example to teach a couple concepts right here, the spinal cerebellar. Will this person have a Romberg sign? Positive Romberg sign?
No.
No. Why not?
You can't even
Because
stand up.
no proprioception, you can't even.
He can't put his feet together. He can't even stand up.
Good. So he can't put his feet together, but he will have a Romberg sign. Alright? So, when you were saying you can't
Oh,
put
it's
No, they put
positive
it always
because he
together.
can't do it. That's what you
it's positive because there's dorsal column damage.
Yeah.
There's dorsal column damage. not telling you that it's exclusively only dorsal column damage. It just tells you that it's present. So if he says that it's Romberg test positive, there's dorsal column damage.
So positive means that he can't even start it or he can't finish it.
So the difference is if there's spinal cerebellar damage, he cannot stand with his feet close together. He cannot stand. He'll fall over with his eyes open. So he can't do that. Positive Romberg sign is when you first do this to see if he has any spinal cerebellar damage. Once you do that, you check that off. And then you want to test for Romberg sign. Then you tell him to close his eyes. As soon as he closes his eyes and he can't keep his balance and fall, positive Romberg sign due to the dorsal column, not spinal cerebellar damage.
Proprioception.
Okay?
Remember how I told you guys to differentiate between spinal cerebellar damage, and dorsal column? Close your eyes. That's it.
Yeah. So I think he went over. He was like, he's in the shower. Listen to this. He won't say it explicitly. He's in the shower. Oh, he got water in his eyes or shampoo. Yeah. And you close your eyes, and then he fell over. What does that mean? He closed his eyes. Positive Romberg test. All right.
He can act. I'm not making this up. He can just tell you he just fell. That's it.
Or he wakes up from bed at night to go to the bathroom. It's dark out. It's dark in the room. He falls over. He can't see. But he's not closing his eyes, but he can't see. Same thing.
Same thing. Okay. Proprioception.
Now, you already know the conditions associated with Friedreich's ataxia. The main thing is just the scoliosis, right? Often they have hearing problems. That's the main thing that he said. And the most common cause of death is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, okay, in these patients. They can ask you, they can give you the symptoms of spinal cerebellar damage, spinal cerebellar degeneration, but tell me an associated or the common cause of death. They can ask you that. I will ask you that. Machado and Joseph. It's just the same thing. But the main thing that I use to differentiate between Friedreich's ataxia, because they're gonna have staggering gait, right? But in Machado and Joseph, they're gonna have lurching gait. Lurching gait is commonly mistaken for drunkenness, and I'm gonna explain it. Let's see if I can do it. Lurching gait. What do you do? You can see. That's lurching gait. It's not like this. It's commonly mistaken for drunkenness. So that's the difference between Friedreich's ataxia and Machado and Joseph. Myelitis. The definition is just myelitis, inflammation of the spinal cord. Okay, but the difference between this and many other diseases is that inflammation, like any other inflammation, it can be in any region of the spinal cord. Okay? He basically said lower motor neural damage, but technically, it really depends on the position that you are. I mean, if I have inflammation in my dorsal root, the symptoms changes. Okay? It's just basically inflammation of the spinal cord, and it is exceedingly rapid onset, and that's it. That's pretty much it. Any question? Yes, sir.
For the spastic bladder, and can you see that in ALS too, or is it only spinal tract syndrome?
Spastic bladder. Remember, the bladder depends if the level of the lesion is in that position of the bladder.
They're both T12, right?
Now, in ALS, as the disease progresses, yes, they're going to have atonic bladder.
But both of them are a result of lower motor neuron damage?
Nope. Spastic, atonic. very, how you say, a nice word for, it's a very dangerous disease, okay? Because yes, you're gonna have open motor neuron damage, and the patient's gonna have hyperreflexia, but you're also gonna have lower motor neuron damage, and that is, as the disease progresses, is the entire spinal cord. Could be the entire spinal cord. Could be, it could eventually stop the progression. You know, Stephen Hawking is still alive, but the worst case scenario is respiratory disease. Because you also need to innervate the muscles of the diaphragm, right? That's the most, that's the complication of that disease. And the fact that you cannot move and you can feel everything, but you cannot do anything about it. Your brain is still functioning, you cannot move. Any other questions?
What did he focus on in review?
Or it's track pretty much, yeah, the diseases, yeah.
Was it helpful?
Did I miss something? No? I don't know how many diseases there were.
Oh, quick for the dermatome, he didn't go over it, but since I remember when we had the lab upstairs, they talk about it. That basically, that's what it is. You have to know all the lesions. So we have to make sure we're responsible for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if he goes over in lab, no idea. Okay? Yeah, you're responsible for it.
He didn't teach dermatome. Did he?
He can give you a lesion of the, like I gave that example right there, right? He can give you a lesion in C5, C6, C7, loss of dorsal vibration and loss of vibration in my middle finger. You need to know the dermatomes in that case, right? Okay.
A helpful tip, because he's going to give you a lot of symptoms in the case stem. First, the case stems are going to be silly. Like, they're going to be funny, but just ignore it. Just focus on what you need to know, okay? But a helpful tip is fasciculations. Alright, you don't see that upper motor neuron, you can see in lower motor neuron. So if he gives you that tip, be thankful, because then you can localize. Alright, you need to use that wisely. You have limited time. So fasciculation, lower motor neuron damage. Know the nuclei. So like the marginal layer, the nucleus, substantia gelatinosa. You know, it's good to know spinal thalamic tract, but know what cell body they synapse at. You could ask that instead of the actual tract. Alright, just those little details. A helpful tip is a Q onset. Look at onset. Because if it's Q, it's a blood vessel. So there's an occlusion of an artery, right? An occlusion of an artery usually gives you a unilateral symptom, but there's exceptions, right?
Anterior.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
What are the examples?
2 seconds.
Of what? Rapid
Anterior.
onset?
Of an artery that will give you
Anterior
sudden onset and
Anterior spinal.
bilateral symptoms.
Basilar? Basilar artery?
Basilar.
Anterior?
Vascular anterior spinal.
Anterior spinal.
Yeah. Yeah, good. And yeah, look at onset, that could help you.
Rapid onset, there's two. There's transverse
Transverse myelitis is rapid
myelitis
onset.
and anterior cord syndrome. These two are rapid onset.
Yeah.
Is that in class?
It doesn't have to be an occlusion, like you said. Transverse myelitis is quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anterior cord.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it'll be nice to hear.
Hope so.
Please don't forget the details of neurodevelopment,
Yeah.
neurotransmitters. Really don't rely on, oh, it's difficult to understand.
Over that lecture.
It's